We are live.
What's up, y'all? My name is Kazi, and you're tuned in for another episode of Vancity Beats, Eats, and More. We out here on the unceded ancestral lands of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations, what is colonially known as Vancouver, BC, or what we like to call Vancity. And on the show today, I've got the one, the only, Sadé Awele.
What's up?
Who, if you don't know, is an amazing R&B afro-soul singer based out of here, Vancity, but seriously going all over the world. Yes.
Period.
This one just had a birthday pass. How do you feel?
Feeling good.
Yeah.
I love that my birthday is in spring. And I think this is the first time that really settled in my body, that I'm like, yeah, May is like the first quarter of the summer. I know we're not in summer yet, but it kind of like welcomes that, and it's like
the pre-party.
Yeah, the pre-party, that burst of energy, that like excitement. So I really focused on like taking that all in this year, and that felt really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
How old did we turn?
Ooh, an age.
An age that we should be proud of.
An age that we should be proud of.
She ain't gonna say.
No, she's not.
It's all good. But I'm going to guess 30 Plus Wisdom Club. Have we entered that?
I have.
Yes! We love that. Because let's be real, 30s is the new 20s and 40s is the new 30s. Okay? But anyway, I'm so stoked that you are on the show and that you can make some time for us, especially before you go on your big Canadian cross-Canada tour, which is happening
Really soon. First show is on the 23rd of May, which is, I guess, the week after next.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
And that
so
first
excited.
location is?
First location is in Edmonton. Okay. And then the next one, next day, 24th, is in Calgary, back to back. Okay. And then we have Vancouver on June 7th. Yeah. And then we're out to the East Coast for the remaining shows in Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sick. You must be so excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so stoked.
Yeah.
Like every day I'm like, 1 second I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. I can't wait to be on tour. And sometimes I'm like, what was I thinking? What in the world? I'm way over my head. But generally I'm very excited.
Good.
Yeah.
To me, you come off as a very like organized and like professional, and you're making things happen. Yeah. So I'm not worried about you. I really thought that on today's show, since it's one of our first morning shows, we usually do these in the afternoon. I really wanted to make Sadé some breakfast. She is a tea drinker, not a coffee drinker. So we're gonna make a matcha latte with oat milk. And then afterwards, we've got some banana oatmeal pancakes on deck, which I hope you like.
Oh man, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a recipe that I actually always make, and it turns out pretty good. It's packed with protein, super delicious. But first off, let's start with the matcha latte. Right. So as you can see here, I've got a sieve already pre-measured with some matcha powder, like high grade quality from Japan, the best.
Wow.
And we learned actually how to properly make and prepare a matcha latte from a previous guest, Michelle from Paragon Tea Room. And so she taught us that it's best to first sieve or sift. This is called a sieve.
Yeah.
Sift the powder so that you get the finest part without any of the bumps. So if you don't mind to kind of like shake that out, I'm gonna fresh steam because we have an espresso machine here today.
Oh.
And in a past life, I was a barista.
Oh.
Yeah, so I learned the proper way to aerate milk. I'm gonna aerate this lovely oat milk right behind you. Yeah.
What a saying. So what does this do when it's...
It takes out all the bumps. And ensures that we have like the smoothest powder, and then you'll see that little whisk there.
Yeah.
And we're gonna whisk it into a paste with the hot water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And for anyone who is at home and has an espresso machine with an aeration wand, the general rule is that you kind of want to tilt your cup on an angle and hear this. Maybe you can hear it from my mic. Hearing this little sound. Oh, yeah.
This is so
And once it is hot to the touch, you count 5 seconds, and you get this yummy, creamy bubbly. Hot milk, as I like to say. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna sneak in beside you. That is looking good.
That is amazing. Wow.
This is what we call tamping the milk so that the bigger bubbles pop, and you want the more creamy, cremoso version of it.
Nice.
Now I got the hot water. You want to whisk?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I'm gonna pour a little bit of hot water in here. Okay. You go for the whisk.
All right. So is it done at an angle?
Yeah.
This is so exciting.
You know, there's probably a very official way that Michelle did it, but we're just gonna go with intuition.
That's right.
Speaking of which, your latest EP that you just released.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that?
Oh, I'm feeling so good about it. Man, it feels good to have it out. I described it as like holding a pea for a long time. Describing pea while cooking. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And then it's finally out and it just feels good. Like the responses have been amazing. People telling me about their favorite songs, people telling me about their favorite lyric. And for me, I think what was really special was the majority of the artists that I got to work with are based out of so-called Vancouver. And that was just like so special. Some of these artists are people that I've played with multiple shows. So it just feels like we're having this deeper connection and we're also going on tour together. So it's just, it's just awesome.
Yo, that's so
Yeah,
tight.
I'm
Who is joining you on tour?
So we've got Alvin on guitar.
Yes, we know Alvin.
Sweet Alvin.
Yeah.
We also have, how's it looking? How am I doing?
Great. Yeah.
All right. Amazing.
This is what it looks like. Yeah. Keep going.
We've got Alvin, who's joining me on guitar. Linaldo on bass. We've got Tyler on drums for the, where are we? West Coast?
Yeah.
And then Chris Kudo on drums for the East Coast.
Yes. Also love all those humans.
Yeah, it's gonna be a dope time. It's gonna be a dope time for sure. I'm excited.
I would love to talk more about like your actual background around music and how you started. I listened to an interview that you did. Okay, I'm pouring in the milk. We get in the foam.
This looks good.
Yep. Are you a sweet kind of gal?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Honey or maple syrup?
Honey all day.
Okay.
Ooh, but maple syrup though. Plot twist.
Plot twist. And you know, maple and matcha is actually a pretty good combo, but we are gonna have maple syrup on our pancakes. So
Okay, let's do the honey then.
okay.
Honey.
Someone told me that it's best to use wooden spoons for honey. Something to do with the honey changes when you use metal. Is that true?
What?
I don't know. Someone verify. Yeah. But it just, I don't know. For me now, it's about cute aesthetics. So let's just stick with that.
Yeah, it's all about the aesthetics.
Yeah, so your musical upbringing and background. I was listening to an interview. Here, try that.
Ooh, so exciting. Cheers.
Cheers. Salud. I mean, mine's just tea I made already. Tulsi and ginger. Need more honey? What do you
like
think?
it. Oh, no, it's good. It's good.
Yeah? Is it a little too strong, or is it balanced? Or
It's balanced. I had to go through all the foam and be like, where's the matcha? Where's the matcha? And then when I got to it, I was like, No, it's good.
Okay,
it's good.
good.
I like it.
Good. I live to please our guests. Yeah, so I was listening to this interview that you had done, and you were talking about your dad being one of your first and earliest, biggest influences in your life musically, always playing music in the background, in the car, and then teaching you how to listen, being like, Sadé, do you hear the drums? Do you hear the bass? Like hearing each of these instruments and really growing up with like jazz, soul, R&B, which I thought was so dope. I'm curious to know, you didn't mention in the interview though, like who were the specific artists that he was playing?
Oh my God, so many. He was a major listener of all kinds of genre. So with jazz, he loved Kenny G. He loved, what's his name? He also plays the saxophone, and he was on Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You. He soloed on that. What is his name? I'm blanking.
Maybe someone on the internet can tell us.
I know.
But...
Maybe someone on the internet might know his name,
Google
but I'm
it.
like Kirk Whalum. Kirk
Okay,
Whalum.
nice.
He played that. He played Layla Hathaway. Then she also her father, I think Don Hathaway as
Don
well.
Hathaway.
So incredible artist. He was also a huge fan of gospel as well. So he'd play like the Kirk Franklin gospels. I'm like, yes, come through choir. What else? He loved R&B. He loved high life music, which is like more of an African genre. So yeah, like those are the, I guess, different genres and some of the artists that he would be listening to. And
like high life is an African genre of like R&B, soul?
It's kind of like, I would say it's more of the early Afro beats in a sense, because some of that sort of birthed what we now know today as Afro beats. But high life had a little more, had some blues in it. So it was like a little bit of a blues influence, and then with the percussions and the African rhythms on the guitar and things like that. So it was like, like a bluesy Afro fusion that was a little more chill than what we would hear like today. Yeah. An example of artists that still kind of follow that style is an artist called, or a group called the Cavemen. So they kind of follow that kind of style, but in a more modern way. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like, what I find so interesting hearing about that experience for you was that like, that is such a common thread between so many artists who like became incredible, was like, oh yeah, I grew up with my parents always playing music straight up while I was in the womb and out the womb, you know?
Oh yeah.
And so I'm wondering for you, like what would be on your essential playlist if you were to ever have children and like you wanted, you know, to maybe just like put the intention out there that they're gonna come out musical little babies.
Yes,
like, what,
please.
You know what I'm saying? What would you want to be playing, and what would be on that essential playlist for you?
Oh man! Oh my gosh! Stevie Wonder is on there sure.
Yeah.
Whitney Houston is on there for sure. We've got some modern people that'll be on there too. Snow Allegra is definitely going to be on there.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit of Naomi Sharon. She's more of a newer artist. She kind of has like a Sadé Awele style. Sadé Awele is definitely going to be on there. She's an influence for sure. Going to have a little bit of Pharrell.
Yes.
Have to have a little bit of hip hop in there. So maybe some of like the classic like Busta Rhymes in there.
Get to know the
you know,
Busta
Rhymes. You gotta understand the flow. You gotta understand the importance of that flow. What else am I gonna have on there? I think man, now I'm blanking out. I'm like, what other artists do I listen to right now that I'm like, oh, of course, Thames is amazing.
As in T.
TMS.
Oh,
so I don't know if you know this song. Justin Bieber was on the remix. It's called, what is it even called? Well, the chorus goes like, you don't need no other body. I don't know. Yeah. That one. So Thames was on that one. So was WizKid. So WizKid, of course, will be in there. Burna Boy is in there, of course. So yeah, it's gonna be a good blend.
Oh my god,
it's gonna be a good blend of soul, R&B, a little sprinkle of hip hop in there, you know.
I love that. That's a good list. People, write that down. Okay, shall we fire up some pancakes?
Let's do it.
So I made the batter earlier today. It has 2 bananas, 2 eggs. It's got a 1.5 cups of oatmeal. It's got some oat milk, vanilla, baking powder, a little bit of salt, and cinnamon. That's it. Ooh. And then popped it in the blender, and that is the best part, is like, it's so easy. This is one of my favorite breakfasts I eat sometimes multiple times in a week, but I also go through phases, you know. When was the last time you had pancakes?
It's been a minute, actually.
Yeah?
I've been doing more waffles lately.
Ooh, yeah. Do you have a waffle maker?
No, I've been going like the old school route of just like buying the ready-made, and just popping it in the toaster.
Did you grow up with Eggos?
Yes. Oh my God.
I love, like, you know, in our childhood, I love buying like the healthier version now of the things we grew up with. So like there's some brand that is just like healthier flour ingredients, whatever, gluten-free even, of like the waffles, cinnamon flavor, put some flax seeds in there. And then like the healthier version of corn pops or whatever cereal.
I know, it always makes you feel good. You're like, okay, I'm justifying that I still love this. This is still my guilty pleasure, but it has that little stamp of, you know, of health on it. Like either it's organic or whatever else. Like, oh my God, it's too funny.
It's too funny. And just like half the amount of sugar. Because that stuff before was like 60% sugar.
It was crazy. Like, even when I think about the candies that I used to take, like I tried to have candy the other day and I was like, my throat feels weird.
It's like too much, too sugary.
Like too much sugar. But back then it was like, whoa, rise of energy, this feels amazing. Now I'm like, no, shut it down.
Yeah.
Just like, shut it down.
Yeah, we're not trying to head into a direction of diabetes in our future, in our old age.
No, we're not trying to do that. We're trying to keep the skin glowing. We're trying to stay healthy. We're trying to be going on walks when we're 90. You know what I mean?
I love it. Can I ask for your help to start with cutting the strawberries? I don't know if you want to do kind of like maybe thin slices that we can like, you know, spread out and fan out, make it look cute on our pancakes, or you could just do classic chop, whatever. It's all going in the same place anyway.
I'm kind of feeling like doing the quarters.
Okay.
Let's see if I make this actually look good, or if it's gonna end up being like awkward.
Yeah. Okay, so Intuition, the newest project, how long did it take you for this project to come together?
It took me 3 years.
Okay.
And usually it wouldn't have taken that long, but it was a mixture of different things. The first one was before Intuition, before I started working on that project, I had just put out an EP. That was my first EP. And that was more of like, okay, let me try my hand on like a body of work. And when I was done with it, I learned so many things. Like on one hand, I learned that I wanted a more cohesive sound with my music. I wanted someone to listen to it and feel like this is a body of work. I learned more about songwriting and how to improve on songwriting. I learned more about producing.
Yes, because you produce, which is so tight.
That's right. And so going into this, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take my time because I really want this to be a project that people remember. I really want this to be the kind of thing that someone's like, yo, I had this on repeat the whole year because I loved, you know, this song or whatever else. And of course, doing that requires a lot more research. So I became a learner. I was like, I am about to be a learner of sounds, and I just want to absorb as much information that I can to get really good at this music thing. And I realized that the best way to do that is to collaborate. So collaborated with different artists, collaborated with co-producers, collaborated with musicians, and that's, I think, where the magic started to happen now. But of course, doing that while also doing live shows and all the other things that come with being an artist, it's a lot to balance that independently in a short span of time. So I was like, you know what, it's going to take how long it takes. And so I took my time with it. And,
good for you. A lot of people want to rush through a process, and sometimes you can't even give a timeline to that process.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I started to do. I started to study a lot of artwork and artists that I felt that produced really good body of work, whether it was from the 70s or even modern, or even like Beyoncé, like how she takes her time. She'll put out a project and then she'll disappear for a hot minute and then be back and you're like, boom, whoa, okay. Or even like Kendrick, like he's another artist that does that, where it's like you take your time, experience the world. And I think that was one element that I felt I was missing in my first project, adding in that experience of being present in the world and adding that into the music. And so I was like, I want this to feel. So yeah, it took me 3 years to get to that point. So I would say it was definitely a bit of learning, experiencing life, and then writing as I was going along.
Wow. Yeah. When you say like experiencing life, that makes me think of one of Beyonce's documentaries where she talked about that, where she was like, I have been doing this since I was a child, like being trained and bred to be a singer and a performer. But I never really got to experience the world and then went off to travel and have like a really enriching experience.
Yeah.
What was that for you, like in terms of like experiencing life?
Well, I think for me, it was a mixture of things. So one, I had a big life wake up call in 2021. I lost my father in 2021. Yeah, it was the biggest shock of my life. And that in itself just like shook my world and made me start to think of what are my priorities? Like what actually matters to me? Seeing how fickle and short life can be, what matters to me right now? What is going to give me that satisfaction, happiness, fulfillment that I want in my life? And so I started to pursue that. I started to pay more attention to what are the things that give me energy and excitement, and what are the things that take away from that energy and excitement. And I started to lean more into those things. Sometimes it could be as simple as just going to a concert and enjoying the music with my friends and deciding that today I am not recording anything. I am just going to be present here in this moment. Sometimes it could be spending time with family. Sometimes it could look like taking a walk. Sometimes it could look like, I know it might sound cheesy, but like watching the waves, watching the waves during sunset without having any plans or anything, just being present there and enjoying that moment. It gives the mind and the spirit so much clarity that it just allows you to, it's like you're almost listening to yourself in those moments and really allowing yourself, your true self, to come through. So I just started focusing more on doing things like that. And
which is like, it's true. It is what matters the most.
Yeah, exactly.
I have been listening to Creative Quest by Questlove on audiobook. Okay. And it's kind of like, it's interesting because Rick Rubin did one called The Creative Act, but it's basically Questlove's view on creativity and creative processes. And one thing he talks about is mini meditations, which like look like the form of what you're saying. Like it can look like taking a walk or sitting and watching the waves, and or just like closing your eyes and creating an inner world where you're just breathing. Yeah. And it's incredible when you do that. Like you can really hear your own voice. You can really hear your own mind also going off and off and off. But then somewhere in between there, especially as you continue to practice that, like more quietness starts to emerge. And then I feel like our most brilliant ideas or our most truest selves like emerge from that.
Exactly. Because it's like, it's almost like practicing, like, you said it perfectly. It's practicing the art of listening to yourself. And so what ends up happening is the more you listen to yourself, you have those spark light bulb moments where you're like, oh, I have an idea. I'm going to do this and this. And then later on you realize like, oh my gosh, where did that idea come from? It's so dope. Like, and that's within, like, that's your spirit, right? So it's really powerful. It's like the more you practice that, the more connected you are to yourself, and the more beautiful art you can make from there, that you're like, holy, like I know one of the songs, for example, Intuition, the lyrics of that song, like every time people ask me, they're like, how did the words come about? And I was literally sleeping and I woke up and started writing.
Wow. Like in the middle of the night?
In the middle of the night. Was sleeping, woke up, and then just started writing. Like, I think I got like the first verse and maybe the second as well. Like, I was just writing. I didn't have the melody yet, but the words definitely like came like that. And I think that's part of it, right? You become more in tune, that even when you're asleep, your mind can still be like, and I've got some downloads for you.
Yes. Wow. That's powerful. Yeah. I actually wanted, I mean, now that you're talking about it, I wanted to ask you about like, intuition, and why did you choose to name your album that? And more specifically, like, what does that word even mean to you?
Yeah, and I think we've even been touching on it in a way, because with intuition, I feel like that represents me embodying my truest self. And that represents me being sort of in line of what we've been saying, being more in line, in tune with myself, understanding what my needs are. And I know a lot of it's also centered around love as well. So being led with love, like letting love be the driving force. Jinx. With music. So I would say, yeah, like in the summary. Ooh.
Can you?
Got my squares.
Adorable. Can you recall a time in which, like, I mean, other than the example you just gave of waking up and, you know, this idea emerging, but like when your intuition told you something and you decided to act upon it and where it led you?
Right. I would say one for sure was this. I went on a tour last year. And
to Europe, right?
To Europe, yeah. And that was initially I was not sure. I was like, okay, I want more exposure for myself, for my music, for my art. And at the time, I really wanted to also get a distribution deal. And I just kept thinking about, okay, what are the ways I can do that? How do I connect myself with people who are going to value my sound and what I can bring to the table and all of that? I was like, all right, I'm gonna go on tour. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go to Europe. And I was like, okay, I don't know if it's going to work out, but we'll see. And then I got invited to perform at Tallinn Music Week. I was like, okay, this is happening. This is real.
Where's that?
That's in Estonia. It's in Eastern Europe.
Girl.
I know.
Estonia. So random. But also, here's the funny thing. So remember how I just told you that I just came back from Mexico?
Yeah.
Hanging out with my friend Jess, shout outs, and her two boys, Hugo and Roland. They are half Estonian, and her partner, Marco, is Estonian. They are the first and only Estonians I know. That language is super rare. It's a tiny country.
Yes. Like, there's only, like, maybe over 1 million people in the entire country. That's like, what, Toronto? Toronto's population?
No, Toronto I feel is bigger than that. I think that's like multiple millions.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
but
super
that's
tiny.
So random and cool. So what was your experience of being in Estonia like?
It was incredible. And like, I didn't just do Estonia. So I did the UK and Estonia. So I really enjoyed both places. My distribution ended up being from the UK. So I did a show in the UK and this guy comes out and he's like, you know, he manages artists and does distribution and things like that. And, you know, he really loved what he saw of me on stage. And then we started talking and boom. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But going to Estonia was like, it felt like a different world and a different timeline because it was like, they also have medieval architecture, so I was like, okay, we're in a different place now.
Like medieval, like castle looking, or
like they still have like castle looking architecture, and I was like, this is amazing. So there's that. There's also like the people look very different. I'm like, wow, these are like Eastern European faces, very specific kind of faces. But also what was interesting is the way that they take in music. They're very calm about it. Like, kind of reminds me of watching people in some people from Montreal. Like, they just sort of like watch you, and then in the end, like, they clap and everything. But they're taking it in, like, in their minds. They're like, wow, this is great. But like outwardly, they're just sort of like absorbing it in, and that was very interesting.
Because your experience of an audience usually is what?
Because usually it's dancing. I mean, depending on where, of course, like it varies.
Especially with your music.
Yeah, exactly. Like usually I'm used to like, you know, you're getting in, you're grooving and stuff. So like when I see people just more of like taking it in and watching, I'm like, oh, okay. Because I'm feeling like my energy is like up here. I'm jumping from like one end of the stage to the other. I'm like, like sweating and everything. And they're just like, I'm like, I'm digging this.
You're like, I'm just going to trust that inside your heart is happy.
I'm just going to trust that you're actually enjoying this and you're not just like, what is going on?
That actually reminds me of the last time I saw you perform, which was a while ago, but it was at Indie Fest. Shout out to Indie Fest in 2022, and we were at Stephanie Wong's event, which Steph has also been on our show representing Renaissance Opera. Check out that episode. But yeah, she curated an event. It was called Liminal,
Yes,
Liminal, and you performed in a beautiful space in Sanyetsan Gardens.
Yes.
And exactly what you were saying, like the beat was fire, and I just looked at the other dancers in the room, and I stood up.
I remember
you saw that. I stood up. I started dancing. Josh Uncle was there, and he like got up, and he just came right over to me and started. And you made eyes, and you're like, "Thank you."
I was like,
thank you for dancing. I'm like, how can I not? I'm like, y'all are dry. Like, get to my level. Let's just boogie right now.
Let's just move, okay?
Yeah,
Like,
this music makes you move.
Let's get it going. Yeah, I know. There were a few people afterwards. Like, it's funny. One of my friends, she came with her husband and their son. And their son, he was like, at the time, he wasn't up to a year-old yet. Yeah. And he's just like moving, like... He just like got up and they were holding him up like that, and he was just like moving his cute little chunky legs. I was like, yeah, you go. Yes. You show them how it's done.
Exactly. When babies are at that phase of like what I call thunder thighs, the chunky legs.
So chunky. It's like,
so unfortunately cute. They grow out of it, but it's like,
I know.
It's such a
and
cute
the fold, like we're just like folds with each other. I'm just like, can I just like, oh.
So we have a term for this. I'm Filipina, and we have a term for this in our culture. It's called gigil. When something, and you're usually saying it about a baby, where it's like, you're so cute, I will literally like pinch you, hurt you, bite you, and you're just like,
gigil. I like that.
And thunder thighs, chunky thighs, they make me, they make me do that.
Oh my god,
that's too funny. Do you remember actually how we first met?
Was it through Leah?
Yeah.
For was it Jungle 90s?
No.
It wasn't that one?
It was called Chocolate Jungle.
Chocolate Jungle!
It was a 90s party.
Yes.
That was all dedicated to the 90s.
Yes. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I miss Leah. Like, she really brought the culture into Vancouver. And that was like, I still remember that event being like one of the staple nights in Vancouver, and that was a vibe.
I feel like, so shout outs to Leah McFly, who's out in Mexico right now, living her best life. I saw her recently actually in Toronto, like back in March. We were both randomly at the same house dance class together, and we were like, what? I didn't know you were here.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but I feel like during her era of living in Vancouver, she really brought the Black community together.
She did.
Like, everybody
really
came out
did.
from all their pockets. She found them all and was like, come be part of my event.
Yeah, and she was very consistent and intentional and persistent as well. She's like,
oh my gosh,
you're going to be a part of this. I'm going to work this through. I'm going to make sure that you have an outfit to wear for this.
Oh my gosh.
You know, like all that.
Number one
like,
stylist.
She was really on top of it. Like, she has such a good heart. Like, I remember one day she randomly messaged me because I was talking about how, like, I've been getting more out of my head and into my body for, like, in preparation for tour, for dancing and all of that. And I was talking about on my Instagram story about how I usually dance with my head. Like, I go in my head, I'm like, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Like,
but the body is not.
And exactly. I'm, like, counting. And the body's like, girl, like, we're doing too much. Like, we need to just, like, feel it. Yeah. So that's what she was like telling me about. She's like, focus more, like listen to the beat, like dance to the beat, like let your body like lead that, and then, you know, go with the flow, like forget the mind, like, you know. I was like, man, it's hard. It's like, it takes practice to like get out of that, especially when you're dancing and singing, because you're thinking about technique. It's like, okay, I want my voice to sound good. I want everything to be like the notes to be pitch perfect, all of that. But at the same time, you're like, but I'm moving. It's like, yeah. A lot.
Yeah, that's why you take a page out of Beyonce's book and run on a treadmill while singing. Serious training.
It's crazy. Yeah. Shout out to my vocal coach. I have a vocal coach who's been helping me for the tour, CQ, Carolyn.
Cool.
And like that's exactly what she said. She was like, Sadé, if you want to get those runs, you gotta jog and sing. Like you gotta get moving. Get moving. And sometimes when I'm doing it, I'm like, I sound so terrible right now. And she's like, yeah, it's not supposed to sound good. This is the training. This is what gets you going and ready for the big day. Like, it's supposed to sound nasty.
And that no one's going to see that or hear that. It's just for you.
Exactly.
Wow. Actually, so Jamal had asked me about like, so how did you and Sadé meet? And I'm like, you're going to have to wait to find out, because I do want to tell the story. But the specific story is that you, me, and Leah rode a SkyTrain to Surrey because for this party, she was filming a promo video at the Archive, which was a vintage store out, again, Leah making relationships, a vintage store out in Surrey.
There was a promo video.
And that was the first time we met. And I think you were in engineering school at the time.
I had graduated, but yes, I was working. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like musically speaking, maybe you were just starting.
I was definitely just starting.
And most of the stuff that I had heard you do at that time was more covers, and you were singing a cover. That was part of your participation of this Chocolate Jungle, was that I was hired to MC the event, and that you were gonna sing a cover.
I think it was SW. Was it SWV?
Week? Was it Week? The song Week?
What was the song? I thought it was SWV.
Missy D also did one. Tanya did one.
Yeah, what was the song?
I'm so impressed with Leah that she got all of us together. But I'm just going to make this last one a giant pancake. That will be for you, Jamal.
I feel like it might have been was it Right Here?
Oh, yeah. With Michael Jackson. That track?
Yeah, and the SWV version, I think that's what it was, yeah.
But that was
it seems to be some insecurity. Yeah, I think it was that.
That was 2018, 19?
Yeah, either 2018 or 2019. Whoa.
Yeah. So we went to Surrey. We all chose an outfit.
Yes.
You had
I had a yellow
jacket. You had a yellow jacket with the pinstripes and pinstripe pants.
Wow, your memory. Oh my
God. I looked for the video. Okay, I looked for it. I had this bomber jacket. My hair was long, and then there was this pan shot through the store. Yeah, and we all had our moment. And we
were just grooving.
And you were singing the lyrics. You were lip syncing to the song. Yeah. And my moment was with a cardboard cutout of Michael Jordan in his Chicago Bulls jersey. Yeah. And I just did one of these on his body.
Oh my gosh. I need to look this up. So good. Wasn't that like this and like that? Yeah. I need to look it up. I need to look this up.
It was so funny. Yeah. And I'm just forever grateful that Leah did that. Then it came time for the actual party. And the party was at what was the Pace.
Yeah. Does it still exist?
No, but big shout out to Dee Brennan for creating that space, making that space, because it housed so many sick creative events for the arts community, especially underground arts community that often don't have spaces that we can present our work or but.
And I remember there being in the venue, people were dancing on a platform, I think, or something. There was a runway segment or something. Okay, it's coming back. And I remember seeing I think it was pink, there were colors pink and purple.
Yes. DJ Denise was one of the DJs.
Yes.
I forgot who the other person was, but I remember my outfit was inspired by Rosie Perez from Fly Girls from the show In Living Color. Had the little black glasses and the hat, and the gloves and the little shorts and the leather. Oh, it was a vibe.
So good.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of fashion, let's just talk about Sadé. Style, gal. Style. Period. I'm in love with the art direction.
Thank you.
For intuition, especially. The dress, the hair.
Yeah.
I'm obviously a stylish one as well. And I noticed these things. So I really wanted to know more about how it came to conceptualize the art direction for that, because definitely you thought of that and maybe worked with a few other people.
Yes, definitely worked with a few people. Oh my gosh, shout out to all of them, because at first I had this mood board and I was okay, I want to combine, I want this to be a very empowering pose. I'm thinking something that, because when you're in tune with yourself, that's when you're following your intuition. It's it's your most powerful moments. I wanted something that's very powerful, very grounded, but also has elements of my culture, and it's also a little bit sexy and cute. So then I made this mood board, and then Thelma, we work together a lot. Like, she helps me in a lot of creative direction for my projects and things.
Is Thelma an art director? Or?
So she's a stylist, and then she also does creative direction and coordination for photo shoots and things like that.
Dope.
Yeah. So we started talking, like, okay, you know, sharing ideas, like hairstyles and things like that. And then also Martha, she's been helping me with like my hair and stuff, and because I wanted like a consistent look. And I don't remember the last time having black hair. It's like, I'm already due to dye it again. It's like it's been blonde for a hot minute. So she's been helping with that. So we started talking about what we wanted it to look like, and I was like, I want this to be extra. I want this like crown on my head, but like I want the crown to also still look African, and like, so we started looking at different types of hairstyles to show that. And then Gustavo, so Martha suggested Gustavo, who is this amazing Brazilian photographer. And so she was like, you know, let's reach out to him, let's try it. She was like, I don't know, he might be a little bit expensive, but maybe he'll be down, since you're an independent artist. Maybe you guys can figure out some sort of deal or something, and, you know, and work together. And like, he was just so kind. He like right away loved the concepts. Like, we started having Zoom calls, and like his attention to detail. Like, I love that he's not just a photographer. He thinks about the poses. He thinks about the outfit, the material, type of material that you're using. He thinks about everything, makeup, everything. So we brought him on board, had our first Zoom call, and then we were like, oh wait, we need a set design. So it was just like a slow build. But in the end, like, we ended up being like, I think about 10 or 11 people on set, like, just to create this, like, from the makeup to the hair to the set design. Like,
so
it was
fun.
like, and then we brought in Jerusalem as her name, and this was like her first time working on a set. And she was just like, hey, Sadé, like, I think she actually even, I think I had reached out to her asking if she knew set designers, and she was like, I would like to bring myself forward for this, and like, I would hope you could trust me, like, on your project. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, of course. And then she just like brought it to life in a really beautiful way with the organza fabric and the purple and the brown, and it was just like, so on the day of, it was like magical. It was like in December, where usually it should be cold, but we had this day in December where it was like super sunny. I'll never forget. Super sunny, super bright. I mean, we're just like, this is meant to be. So it was a good day, good shoot. But yeah, it definitely took a team of people. And I think the biggest thing was that their hearts were in the right place, and they were all equally as excited to be a part of it. Yes. And like on the day of, they were all like hyping me up. They were like, move your butt, move your hips, suck your belly in, like do it. Like, they were really just like trying to bring out the best in me.
To create the image
would
become the album cover.
To create the image. So like, I think that it was definitely worth it. Like, even though it was cold, I was like, but I was like, okay, hold the leg, Sadé. Because the moment we got that pose, Gustavo was like, okay, Sadé, you're just a little off the center. Just move a little bit, because we were thinking of symmetry and like all that. So I'm like shaking, moving it, legs going. It was just like, oh my God.
You're like, quick,
please, myself off. But no, it was worth it. It was so worth it.
I love that. Well, honestly, I love photo shoots. Like this kind of magic, especially when it's something that is going to be really important. Like, like, how am I presenting this body of work that took 3 years to make to the world?
Exactly. I think that was the biggest thing. I was like, I didn't want just any kind of cover. I wanted something that felt timeless. I wanted something that felt like a true project. Like, you look at this and you're like, oh, okay, this is a project. This is like professional. That's what I was going for. And I was just so proud and happy, like, seeing the result. I was like, oh my God, way better than I could have imagined. Like, way better.
Totally. Like, one of those album covers that people have and they're like, I love this. Like, this is from 30 years ago. I still love it.
Exactly. And we're definitely like, hint, getting it in vinyl eventually.
It definitely, like, especially the tracks on there.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So we're doing that. We already have the vinyl masters. It's just that we have to get through, of course, touring and all of that, and then that's the next mini project. But I'm excited to kind of see it there. I think it'll be like, yes, solidified.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, pancakes
Ooh.
are ready.
It smells so
I'm
good.
hungry. I'm ready for our first bite. Da, da, da.
Dum, dum, dum.
This one is not that pretty, so we'll just, leave it in the pile.
You said it's got cinnamon in it?
It's got cinnamon. It has the oats. It has oat milk. It has eggs.
Wow.
Man, I was doing so much chatting and listening. I forgot to put blueberries. I have blueberries on deck.
Ooh.
Like frozen ones that were going to go. But, maybe
we can mix it up.
Exactly. We'll just put it on top of our pancakes.
Yeah.
Let's start with that amount. I'm going to transfer this pile here. But I've got some maple syrup there in that corner if you want to just grab that. Yum.
This is so pretty.
Yum. Okay. How do you want to dress your pancake?
I'm going to go with the fruits first.
Yeah.
Putting that right in the middle.
This is not going to be as pretty as I usually try to make it, but whatever. Like I said, it goes into the same place, goes out the same place. Whatever. What is your favorite kind of breakfast foods, by the way?
Oh, this is really close to it. I love
Yeah.
pancakes
Yeah.
Usually I add sausages
Yeah.
and baked beans.
Ooh.
Get like a heavy breakfast, and I'm like, well, I'm good for the rest of the day, I guess.
I love baked beans.
Yeah, I
I'm
love
new to
baked
liking
beans.
baked beans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't know about the ones that like can be kind of sweet.
Oh, like the maple ones and stuff. So good.
Sidebar. So I have coconut whipped cream.
What?
So it's dairy free. Do you want a little bit?
Ooh, yes.
Okay. I forgot to. Here, we're just gonna hold it like this. Don't look too closely, camera.
Yes. This is pretty.
Okay, finding out about coconut whipped cream is a game changer.
It's a game changer. Wow.
Like I put that on top of my coffee instead of creaming it.
Yes. This is good.
And then this is the maple syrup.
Okay.
You go for it.
Thank you. I love the aesthetic. Hello.
Yum.
This is looking pretty.
Yum.
I was trying so hard to not get the blueberries
Yeah.
on the side, and then they just kept dropping. I was like, whatever.
Whatever, man.
This is pretty.
We're not like some hardcore foodie blogger creative content
Must
people.
be perfect.
Nah. So, pancakes, first bite.
First bite. Let's do it.
I hope you like it, Sadé. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's so funny. This is so Canadian of me. The moment you said happy birthday, somewhere in my brain, I wanted to say you too. Like, it's like, but like, why? Why?
Why do you consider that a Canadian thing?
Because we're just so polite and nice. It's like, everything is always like, you too. Okay, first bite.
I'm into it. I'm about it.
This is good.
This is good.
This is tasty.
I mean, it's classic and it's so
This is tasty.
filled with protein. Fuel your day
good.
with a pancake.
What did you use for the flour?
Oats.
Oh.
So there's not, it's gluten free. It's just straight
Yeah.
oats because it blends, right?
Yeah.
So I don't even need to pre-blend it into a flour. Like
So you just use like the flakes and you just blend it with water?
literally all the ingredients I named earlier in the episode, I just tossed it in the blender as is.
That's
then blended
amazing.
it.
That's amazing.
So easy, right?
Yeah, this is really good.
Thanks.
That's
Yeah.
really good. It's got a sweetness to it as well.
I wanted to ask you, were you born here or did you immigrate from Nigeria?
I immigrated from Nigeria
When
with
you
the
were how
fam
old?
with the fam jam when I was a teenager. Yeah.
So you spent your
Completed
childhood.
yeah.
Where?
I spent my childhood. When I was a teenager, we lived in Hamilton, or I lived in Hamilton, completed high school. But before coming to Canada, I was in Nigeria.
But where in Nigeria did you
Oh,
grow up?
Lagos. Oh, that's what you were asking me.
Lagos.
Yeah, Lagos.
Okay.
Yeah, Lagos is amazing. Like, there's so many incredible things happening in Lagos right now. Like, from the artists that are coming up to the live music to like the entrepreneurial spirit. Like, Nigerians are hardworking men. Nigerians don't play. Nigerians don't play. and growing up in Nigeria, so I would say it definitely helped my entrepreneurial spirit. Definitely, obviously, the birth of my love for music as well. My fun fact, my father's father lived in a home that where there were professional drummers.
Yeah, the House of Drummers. Like, was it like a community house, like, or something like that?
Pretty much. It was like a community house in their town, like in their hometown, called Awe, in Oyo State. And yeah, like, it was a community of drummers. They would go to events, they would drum. So drums is such a huge part of my culture, especially the Yoruba side of my culture. Huge, huge, huge. We have like the talking drums, and it's almost a language in itself. So that it's sort of like stems from generations, I guess, in a sense.
That's so tight.
Our love for music, you know.
Did you, every time I pick it up, the strawberries fall. Did you, have you been back recently? Like,
No.
Do you still maintain a connection with
I
Lagos
maintain
and Nigeria?
connection with family that I have in Lagos, absolutely. But I haven't been back since, I think 2019 was the last time I was back. I really want to go though. I really, really want to go back, and I want to network with artists out there, like, and I want to spend a good amount of time. Like, I want to go for like a month, you know?
Wow. And other parts of Africa, have you been?
No. I would love to though. I would really, really love to. I want to go to Ghana. I want to go to South Africa. Like, South Africa's killing it right now with like Amapiano. Like, they're on fire. So I would love to go to South Africa. I would love to go to Tanzania. I have a follower who reminds me every time. He's like, come to Tanzania and perform. I'm like, I'm trying. Show me the way. But yeah, I would love to go to Tanzania, and also because it's really beautiful. Yeah, those are some of the places I really want to go to in Africa for sure.
So how was that transition for you to then like come from such a place with such a pulse and a heartbeat?
Yeah.
You know, we had previously on the show Ade Wolf, and he schooled us on Nigeria. Like, we went into like, oh, paint me a picture, and just like the sounds of traffic and the streets and the colors of the buildings. And I was just like, yo, I feel you, because it's very similar to a lot of other places in the world.
Yes.
Philippines being one of them, Mexico being one of them in my mind or in my memory. And and so, yeah, like, to come from a place like that, to come here and immigrate here during teenagehood, you know, like, what was that like for you?
It was a big change for sure. Because like at that point, being a teenager, that's prime discovery age. Like, you're figuring out
coming of age, man.
Yeah, you're figuring out your talents. You're figuring out what you like. Like, it's such a big phase of your life. So to come here, it was just like, okay, I guess I'm, you know, and I would say to some extent, with my family, that was my closest connection to anything. So that's all I relied on pretty much for support and for that grounding in this new space, because it was very unfamiliar. And I was just like, you know, we had traveled before, you know, then it wasn't like our first time out of the country, but at the same time, it was just like a big change, like that feeling of, oh, this is like, we're not just here on vacation, like, we're here to stay now. Like, this is like, okay, how do I get used to this environment? I think one of the challenges was like, at the time, I think things are better now. Like, now we're in a phase where people are welcoming cultures and styles. But it felt like when I first moved that it was more of like, I needed to adjust to the culture that was presented in front of me.
Totally. And in Hamilton too.
And in Hamilton, Ontario.
Girl.
Listen, it smells, okay? Hamilton smells.
Didn't they call it the Steel City?
Smells. Yes.
It smells like
Hamilton
what?
Smells. Girl, I don't even know.
You're like, it's in my mind.
It's just in my mind, you know?
It's distinct. I
can't even pinpoint it. It just smells. It's just not the vibe, right? Like, I was ready to leave.
Yeah.
You know,
although apparently Hamilton is becoming a vibe.
Yeah, it's better
more,
now.
You know, like more arts. A lot of people left Toronto to go there
Yes.
because it's affordable, raising their families, etc.
Exactly. Hamilton's way better now than it was.
Yeah.
I'll say for sure. Because I remember when I moved, I still remember like one time I was walking down the street with a friend of mine, and these dudes in their car threw eggs at us.
No.
I kid you not.
Rude.
And I had no
Nothing
idea
better
at the
to
time
do,
that it
man.
was like, I had no idea at the time that it was like a racist gesture, because I just thought, okay, these guys are throwing eggs at us. All right, well, keep moving. But then later on, like, you know, obviously after learning about all the different microaggressions and things like that, I learned like, oh my gosh, like that was actually some like a mini attack at us, like throwing eggs and things like that. So there was a lot of that. It's like recognizing, I think that was another big thing, recognizing that I was Black. It was like a big thing moving to Canada. I was like, oh, people actually see you differently. People are surprised that you can speak well. It's like, well, yeah, like in Nigeria, we all speak English. Like it's like little things that people don't realize are like their lack of knowledge or understanding of like cultures outside of their own was like a really big thing. I was like, wow, okay. People are like, oh, you're so confident. I'm like, was I not supposed to be confident for some reason, or I'm not getting it? Yeah,
it's interesting when, I mean, I don't even know if like the people who are perceiving or having those kind of thoughts are even aware in that moment, like that they had a preconceived thought or feeling. I actually experienced that a lot also in my travels, you know, where like I don't realize I have a preconceived thought or lack thereof until I'm there in that place and I'm seeing it for the first time. You know, and at the end of the day, ignorance, right? But that's really interesting, like growing up in that way. But when did you come here then from there?
So to Vancouver? Vancouver was, I think it was the same year that we met, was the same year that I moved to Vancouver.
Oh, okay. So it was a post-university move.
Yeah, exactly. And in Vancouver, and yeah, I guess I've been in Vancouver ever since.
2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 6 years.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. I moved 2018. So 7 years.
7 years. Okay. And what was that choice to come here?
I think a big part of it was knowing that Vancouver was good with the arts. That was a big part of it.
Versus Toronto or Montreal, where you were in the East?
Well, I would say yes and no. Because on one hand, I knew a few people who were out here at the time, and they had talked a lot about the music industry here, or the music, or more generally the art scene here. It seemed like there was a lot of opportunities, also opportunities in film, opportunities in modeling, things like that. And I guess like at the time, I didn't really, the infrastructure was not very clear to me, like in Toronto in comparison to here. I would say definitely in Toronto, the infrastructure has grown a lot more compared to Vancouver. But at the time, it seemed like either or could have been a viable option. And I was like, well, you know, go away from the snow and all of those things. Why not? Why not? You know? So I did that.
Okay, so that was the move. You're like, I ain't trying to be more cold.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not doing this with you.
Let's go to a place that has winter just for a month.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. Shut it down. Yeah, I did really bad with the cold. Like, yo, it was a struggle. So that was definitely a motivation. And I think also when I moved here, I definitely, like, I think I'm a very much of a workaholic, recovering workaholic is what I say now. Recovering workaholic and a hustler. Like I will push for like what I want. Like especially when I believe in it very strongly, like I'll work very hard to attain that thing. But I feel like Vancouver gives me a balance. Like in Toronto's very much like hustle culture.
To work.
You gotta work. You gotta put in that work. And I think because I'm already naturally that way, Vancouver kind of gives me that balance of like, okay, just, you know, chill. Like,
go look at the sunset.
You know what I mean? I'm like, look at me talking about watching the waves. Sadé of 5-6 years ago would have been like, man, I don't got time for watching the waves. I got things to do. So I think
recovering workaholic. Everyone applaud. We love to see it. We love to hear it.
You know, so I think Vancouver definitely has brought that balance into my life for sure. Yeah.
In a past interview, you mentioned that at the time, I think it was like 2022 when you did this interview, where it was like a struggle because Vancouver can feel isolating sometimes. It's hard to build community. I'm curious to know, do you feel that's changed for you?
Do I feel it's changed for me? Yes and no. Music community, yes, definitely, because I've made some really amazing friends in the music scene that are still my friends, and we're going on tour together and all of that. And then I've also made friends along the way, like through fashion, like fashion shows and things like that. But Vancouver is definitely the kind of city where you have to put yourself out there to build a community and expect that anything can happen. You know, it's almost like some people might find it too much and like, okay, you know, not really trying to, you know, make new friends right now. And some people might welcome that. So I found that a lot of people who've ended up being my friends are people who also either moved to Vancouver in the last few years, or they're just more open-minded and want to, you know, connect with more people. But it's better, but it can still be better. Like Vancouver is still very much of a isolating kind of city. Like for example, and I'm putting some people on blast right now, without any names. Yeah. But you know, I made this community group because a lot of people were talking about how Vancouver could be very isolating. Some of them had just moved to Vancouver. I was like, okay, you know, I'm going to work on this community group, and you know, I'll just organize mini hangs, and everybody can get to know each other and stuff like that. So we were supposed to have like a bowling event. And a few people had RSVP'd for it. I was like, okay, great, awesome. So then I, you know, called the bowling alley and made made rezo for like, I think 2 lanes or something like that, or whatever it was at the time. So I'm like, great, dope, this is gonna be fun. Yeah. I send the reminders, you know, the usual stuff. I'm like, this is low key, this doesn't require too much effort. I'm sure it's gonna be great, awesome. Nobody showed up.
Not one?
Not one person.
Oh my God.
Not one human. I was like, and what was frustrating for me was that at the time I was recovering from a cold. So it took a lot of energy for me to be like, okay, Sadé, just go. There are people who are trying to connect. Yeah. So I was thinking so much about like everyone, and then no one showed up. And I was just like,
one time I tried to do something.
You know, and that's kind of like, and what someone else said, there were a few people who had messaged later on saying like, you know, sorry they couldn't make it and stuff. But what someone had said was, there's this thing where everyone's thinking that the other person is going to show up. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sure that person's going to be there, you know, no big deal. It's like everybody else is thinking that the other person's going to be there, and then in the end, nobody ends up showing up. And that's a very common thing in Vancouver. Whereas in Toronto's very much like, if I'm saying I'm going to this thing, I'm committing unless there's like an emergency, I'm showing up. So that in itself is a bit of like a change for me that I'm still not used to. Because even every time I go to Toronto, it's like, friends are like, okay, we're hanging out, cool, we're hanging out this time, this date, this place, cool, done, you know? So still adjusting to that. I don't think I can ever.
Let me break it down for you, okay? I'm not going to generalize Vancity. I'm just gonna say what I've noticed is that everybody wants to honor their feelings the day of, right before the event starts. And if whatever it is you're feeling is like, I need to honor myself and just stay at home, that's what they're going to do. That's it. That's what it comes down to, you know? It's like
honor your feelings.
People are not trying to purposely flake necessarily.
Right.
But, you know, from someone who's coming from your perspective, it could be viewed as such. But really, and I'm saying this because I also have done this, which is why I can't even fully commit anymore. And I think that's also coming from a post-COVID world, like, where, you know, social capacities have shifted, and sometimes it's just like, yo, I gotta honor how I feel today. And maybe it's me being by myself watching the waves.
You know what?
You know, like I can't go bowling.
I'm gonna take that line. Like when I'm not feeling like going out, I'm gonna be like, you know, tonight I just want to honor my feelings. You know, I feel like that's something that no one can push back on. Like when you hear that, you're like, wow, that's really wholesome. Like I can't be mad.
No, you get messages of support. You get like, I hope you're okay.
I hope you're okay.
Do you need anything? Yeah. Like,
it's like, you know, please do what you need to do.
That's it.
Yeah. I like
Please
that.
do what you need to do. You literally sent me that same message. When I had to reschedule our initial interview because I had to honor my feelings.
Exactly. See? There we go.
Oh, the balance of life.
I know. But I've gotten better at, like, before in the beginning when I first moved, I'd be like, what is wrong with this city? But now I've gotten more graceful. Like, I'm just like, oh, that didn't work out? Okay, cool. I mean, the bowling one was a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think now they're trying to like make up for it, and there's some messages going on the chat. I'm like, y'all organize it. I'm just gonna show up.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, yeah, like I'm definitely more understanding now that, you know, life happens, and like you said, it's a post-COVID world, and even just thinking about everything that's happening in the world, it's very overwhelming, and we're all just trying to figure out like, what can I do? Like, how can I help? Like, there's just so many issues, like,
so many
around the world. And I think that in itself can overwhelm you to the point where you're just like, I don't feel like going out. Like, I don't feel excited. I don't feel like happy right now, you know? So I understand that there's that as well. Yeah.
I think that's the beautiful part about being an artist is like being able to process and give yourself time to process those feelings and have your creative outlets to be able to like release it. Yeah. You know, whether it's dancing or making music or painting or creating art.
Exactly. It's so important. Like art is so important right now more than ever. And there's no, you know, I think it's so healing, and it's our deepest form of expression, and it's one of the few ways that we're able to connect to our spirits, and I think that's what we need right now, you know. So shout out to all the artists who are also advocates right now in this season. Like I'm seeing a lot of people putting out music specifically talking about the times that we're in, and that's huge. Like I have a lot of respect for artists who are able to connect in that way and write from that place, because for me, I'll just sit down and cry. I'd just be like, this is too much. This is just, you know, but some people are just able to connect in that moment and really like speak to the times, and it's really powerful.
Which is what I also love about like the plethora of different kinds of artists, because they have that thing that they need to express, or the lane that they choose to express themselves in. What I love about your music is like, it's so relatable, accessible, and production-wise, it's like it brings that release of just movement and joy, or just like celebration, you know? I want to know, what does Jo mean?
It means dance.
Okay, in Nigerian.
Yeah, in Yoruba, it means dance. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it. It's just, we're just saying dance, we're just saying move. I know, I get that all the time. Everyone's like, is Jo a person? Because the line, I guess even the way that it's worded, it can sound like you're talking about Joe, like a dude, or whoever's, but
I love that. What does this, for you and your artistic and creative journey at this point in time, what do you feel this project represents for you?
Wow, that's a good question. I think this project represents my developed sound, is what I would say. It's now a direction that I see myself going and getting deeper into. Like, it's perfectly describing what I wanted it to describe, which is afro-soul and an R&B blend. So yeah, I would say that that's what it represents. It represents like, okay, when you want to think of what does Sadé sound like, this is the project. Yeah.
And for 2024, how do you see yourself evolving, and what direction do you want to grow in?
That's a really good question. I do not know yet.
Which is okay.
Yeah, I don't know yet, because you know, I guess I spent the last 3 years, it was all about this project, holding this in and just like, you know, getting ready to bring it out to the world. And so now I'm like, I think it's part of why I'm looking forward to going on tour, because I feel like that's usually a place where new sounds are birthed as well, like, because it's new experiences, going to different cities, meeting people. So I'm gonna be more in the phase of like taking that in. On the artistic side, like, of course, there'll still be a few releases in the year, like a few remixes, hint, hint, and possibly a visual, hint, hint. And so like that type of stuff. But in terms of like newer projects, I'm definitely back into I'm taking it in, I'm experiencing the world, I'm trying to figure out what's my next direction now. And then going to start playing with sounds. And if I get inspired by anything as we go to the different cities, definitely I'll have, you know, my computer ready to like record some things, and, you know, a few productions here and there. I'm sure with the band, like we might do some things like on a quiet day or something. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. That's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
What is that process for you? Because especially since you can also produce and you write your songs. So like, what is that process for you when you get an idea and you start, utilizing the tools? What tools do you use to start making those ideas happen?
Yeah, so I use Logic Pro. And sometimes even before I use Logic Pro, sometimes it's like bare, simple voice memo in my hand. And I'm just like, I'm humming this sound that I like. But once I feel more confident, then I use Logic Pro just to set down like the groundwork, whether it's like a drum pattern that I think that is dope, or like a keys progression that I think that is dope. And then I give it to more experienced people being like, help me, bring your ideas into this, like kind of thing. But usually that's sort of how it goes for me. That's when I'm doing it. If I'm working with other people, a lot of times it starts from like just jamming. Like we're just like in an area and we're just like playing different sounds. And then if something stands out, then we sort of play on that and then start working on lyrics. But yeah, so in this particular tour, I'm just going to have my computer on me and my mic. So if I get inspired by something and my interface, like I have an interface I plug it to. And if I get inspired by something, then I'll record like on the road. And I hope I do, because I think that'll be a cool, like, nice segue into new sounds and things. So yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Do you have any pre-show rituals before you get up on stage and get yourself hyped up?
Ooh, that's a good question. I pray.
Yeah.
I pray, and sometimes I invite the band in if they're comfortable to pray with me. I shake off the nerves, like I'm a big shaker. I also do vocal warm-ups, of course. Gotta massage the vocals. What else? And then I tend to be a little bit quiet. Like I tend to kind of like study the crowd. I stay quiet, like looking like, okay, these are the people that I feel like are gonna be the hype people. These are people that I might have to like, get hyped a little bit more. These are like, I just kind of like study.
You're already pre-scanning your audience.
Yeah, I do.
That's good.
Yeah, and then it helps me know if I'm gonna change something on the fly. Like if I feel like, okay, this is an audience that might not really know my music, so I'm like, okay, I might need to change something a little bit with the way I go on, or I might need to come on very strong so that they feel like, okay, she's bringing us in, or oh, I might need to start with like a little bit of a sing-along, or oh, I might need to start by introducing myself. Like I just like, look at them real quickly and try to decide like, okay, what makes sense for the crowd.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so sometimes they're used to it now, but I think in the beginning they're just like, oh my God, Sadé is always improvising. But like they're used to the band. Yeah. So there's always like a strict way that we're like, okay, this is the set list, this is the order. But if I'm feeling like this is not gonna work for this crowd, I just tell them like just before going on, hey guys, we're gonna move this over. We're gonna do this song first, and then we're gonna move into this one later down or something. Yeah.
Wow, spoken like a true performer, like who wants to perform for the crowd.
Exactly,
which
pretty
is
much.
huge.
Yeah, because that's the big thing for me. It's like I'm there to like, I see it as, someone described this really, really perfectly. He was like, what is the what is the gift that you're giving to your audience? Like, what is that gift? Like, yes, they're there to see you, but what are you giving them? What are you offering them? And like that sort of stood out to me, because I'm like, yeah, what am I bringing to them? Like, I want, even if it's like one line that you remember for the next week, or even if it's like one moment, like I want you to be able to connect to something that makes you feel like, oh yeah, like she really was there for me, Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this has been such a great interview. I really appreciate you coming here, making time, especially as like, I'm guessing you're very busy preparing,
I know,
doing a lot of things independently to support your tour.
Yes.
But, I wanted to send you off with some nourishment.
Thank you.
Also some time for like reflection on your journey and what it took for you to get to this place before you're about to share that gift. And so I want to end the show with just like, maybe taking a moment and like you answering that last question is like, for this tour, for these cities that you're going to go bless these stages, which I looked at some of these venues and I'm like, oh girl, you're going to perform at Adelaide Hall in Toronto, like sick venues. Like it's huge. Like congrats.
Thank you.
What is that gift that you want to give and leave with the people who are about to come?
Wow. That's huge. Wow. Gift that I want to leave them from now to the tour, or just in general?
Both.
Yeah.
Like I think more so like as you just described, like tailing off of what you just said, where like when you perform and what you are doing, that intention of giving that gift, what is that gift?
Yeah, myself. Well, I think that gift honestly is allowing my audience, so allowing you to be present with me in that moment that we're sharing together. Because I know that we all have different lives, we all have different backgrounds, like we're all coming from different situations, baggage, and some people might not have baggage, but like I want you to feel like, whether it's when you're listening to my music on Spotify or whatever you listen to it on, Apple Music, whether it's when you're watching live in that moment, like I want you to feel like in this moment you can just be free and you can just be yourself and you can just enjoy whatever number of minutes you're gonna be there with me. That's what it is. Like I want that to be a moment where you can just let go and just be in the moment and enjoy. Yeah.
Sparking joy.
Yeah,
being
joy.
present.
Being present.
Letting go.
That's right.
Being free.
Yeah.
With Sadé Awele.
That's right. That's a nice tagline. Okay, I'm gonna rewatch this and be like,
yeah. Put that in your reel that you're gonna do. Yeah. Sparking joy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This has been awesome. And the food, so good.
We're going to eat more after this is cut. But, yo, thank you to everyone who has tuned in, who is watching the replay. This has been a jazzy production. Keep it locked. Stay tuned. We still got more episodes to go. This was actually our 60th interview that we've done in total.
Congrats.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Episode 28 of season 2. So it's been such an honor to have you on our show. Shout outs to everybody. Much love. This has been Vancity, Beats, Eats, and more.
Purr.
Yes. Yay.